Right, for Breckon Farms, we're offering up 35 yearlings, and we'll touch on those very shortly in the NZB Karaka sale, Monday the 16th of Feb. George Breckon joins me. George, firstly, thanks for joining me.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
It's going to come around very, very quickly, actually. It's only about 8-9 days away from now.
Yeah, they have come around really, really fast. I felt like I was only just 2 fillies last year. I felt like I only just bought them. And now I'm back and potentially looking at buying more. So it has come very quickly.
I want to get the message out there for young people getting involved in the game. And you said there before that you got involved with 2 last year. I think a lot of people probably think that you'd naturally be involved in horses ever since you were a child. But I know with the help of Phil Kennard, you've sort of taken a different look at the racing part of it and syndicating the horses and picking the right sorts of horses. Are you enjoying what you do now? Like, instead of, I suppose, a prediction that, if a family horse wins, well, you're part of that package?
I really enjoy the way that I've done it. It's actually been quite good doing it with Philip Kennard. I mean, Glennis and Phil have been awesome for allowing me to do it. But the cool part about it is really the way that it works is fairly independent. In fact, it's even fairly independent of Glennis and Phil as well.
Yeah.
They give me quite a lot of autonomy when it comes to selecting the trainers, even down to selecting the horses. Now, they have a huge say in the list. We put our list together, and then at the end of it, we sort of talk to the trainers we're going through. I talk to Glennis. I show them my list. I'm pretty happy to take a backseat on that, to be fair, because I know the good and the bad things when I'm looking at a horse, but I wouldn't have an eye like Glennis or Phil or, of course, the trainers that we select. So we sort of all find something that works together that's in the price range we're looking for. But I think the cool part about it is when it comes to actually running the syndicate, it's really separate to what my mum and dad have done. So there's you don't really have people that understand this, but this isn't unique to Ken, but you don't have your dad over your shoulder saying, oh, why don't you do it this way? Why don't you do it that way? Because it's completely separate from it.
Yep. And that's what I want to make sure people understand, that when you're actually there purchasing a horse, it's for this syndicate, and it may not, flow into what mum and dad necessarily like. It might be, a trainer that mum and dad don't use, not necessarily don't like, but they don't use. And, the guidance from other people is that this horse will best suit this person because it'll race down south, deep down south, North Island. It doesn't really matter, but you get that sort of different advice, hey?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at the first one we did, which was Double Park, that was a Woodlands horse. And Woodlands breed great horses, but a lot of people sort of said, like, oh, well, why didn't you go into the family's horses? And I mean, there was a few reasons. One was we were just giving it a crack at some individual, have a go with some other breeders, but also it was a good horse that me and Philip both really liked. There was a Breckon Farms horse we were looking at, but we just didn't go down that route. And yeah, I mean, that syndicate was actually entirely independent of mum and dad. So I do wish I got to have raced one of their ones, because that would have been quite funny, but I didn't get to do that. The 2 that I bought last year, though, they were Breckon Farms horses. But again, that wasn't because I was trying to buy Breckon Farms horses. That's just the way the cookie crumbled, because, I mean, as anybody knows, at the sales, it's an auction, so anything could happen. So I could have walked out with nothing.
Sorry?
I could have walked out with nothing. Now I didn't, but I could have.
Yeah, and I think we've got to be a little bit practical too, because I don't know the exact number of horses there are on the North Island sale, but you said that there before, Woodlands and Breckons, there's 67 horses in those 2 drafts alone out of, I'm going to say about 140, 130. So half the draft are made up of those 2 farms. So, the chances of you selecting one of those 2 is pretty high, really, when you think about it that way, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it really is. As I say, it just comes down to what we like on the day, and it's the same for everybody. But yeah, I mean, it is pretty high, and they've got mum and dad and Woodlands as well, but a lot of the other breeders as well. For us, mum and dad, what would have been a few years ago now, they made a particular swing towards really improving the bloodline of the mare's side, and I've probably grown up around that, so I'm now in that same vein of thinking where maybe it'd been an older thought, where it was sort of, there was a lot of back paddock mares being sent to very strong stallions. I'm not saying everybody does that and people don't really do it now, but it was common. All you need to do is look back at the stud books. It used to happen all the time. So now I'm really big on well, I want a good stallion, but I also want a very good mare.
Yep.
Everybody thinks that way now, which is good. But with what Breckon and Woodlands and a lot of the other breeders are doing it now as well. But yeah, because all of our mares have such a strong history. I think it's every single one has a Group 1, either first, second, or third dam relation. It's pretty hard to go past them.
Yep.
And I mean, Woodlands draft is much the same. So yeah, as you say, it is half the draft, but it's also very good horses in that half of the draft. Yeah.
Two questions in one answer. Do you look for, when you're looking at a bloodline, are you looking at a filly as compared to a colt, or do you have an open mind on a racehorse, probably that fits in with your criteria? And do you enjoy the way the bloodlines are going, because there's some unique bloodlines year on year being introduced into the catalogues?
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy it. I think particularly in standardbred in the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, there's been quite a large amount of diversification in the New Zealand market. Like, you go back 5 years ago, it was, I mean, you had a lot of Art Magi, you had a lot of Better's Delight. Now, I mean, it's still true to today, but there's no real absolute king of the stallions right now. There are some very good ones, and it's not hard to see that. But there also seems to be a lot of unproven stallions down the bottom end, but they're not bad. They're very, very good horses. They just don't have much of a footprint in Australasia. And I think, you know, with artificial insemination being available in the standardbred, it means that our gene pool can grow.
Yep.
Something that we didn't really have a lot of 5-10 years ago.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, when I'm looking at horses, my first year I purposely looked at a colt, but this year with the next, well, I say this year, last year with the next gen incentives, I was more interested in fillies, because I mean, there are some pretty small fillies, Group 1 fields. If you can get them up and going when they're a 2-year-old, you're in with a shot to get some pretty good early success. So I was very keen to sort of have a crack at next gen, but also from a fillies angle.
Is there a long-term plan for you to follow in Dad's footsteps, start introducing a broodmare band, or you?
I'm not sure. I mean, I am talking with Dad all the time around his bloodlines and what they're doing. I don't think it'd be necessarily, I mean, it will be follow, but it's more going to be, I'll do a lot of it my way and the way that I see fit. If that means that me and my brother end up amalgamating into the farm, I mean, I'd like to see that happen. Obviously, they've got a beautiful property and a beautiful band of broodmares, but it'll just take it as they come. You know, I'm fairly involved in the other side of the business with Hydroflow as well, but I'm taking, again, a different angle. I'm more involved in the civil side, whereas Dad sort of grew it through the plumbing side. And then my brother's gone onto the plumbing side as well. So it is cool that we've both taken interest in the family business, but there was never any, you know, there's an expectation you have to do this or an expectation you have to do that. I mean, Andrew came out of school and became a plumber. I came out of school and was working in food distribution. It just so happens that Mum and Dad's passions were ours as well. So it's been pretty cool watching that develop, both for myself and for my brother.
It is, and I think a couple of things you've already alluded to in this interview. You are your own person, like we said there with Phil and Glennis, but even a little bit separate from them, you still have your own ideas, but also potentially following in, you know, the brand that is Breckon Farms. It's synonymous, you know, in the Southern Hemisphere, world hemisphere, really, people know Breckon Farms, so it's a, you know, it's quite a unique brand. So you have got a unique opportunity, and I'm glad to hear that. You potentially are going to follow, by the sounds. Both you and your brother are going to follow, but it's not set in stone. And I think that's a challenge for our industry, is actually to keep people like yourself in the industry, but also get more of your friends involved in the industry too.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think for Andrew and I, if you're going to call it following, I think it's going to be we'll be heading in the same direction, but along a different path is probably the best way to put it. Like, Mum and Dad's ideas align pretty solidly with mine, and I mean, I can't speak for my brother, but I will say, and my brothers, but I mean, if you don't think we have some fiery clashes around the dinner table about the state of the industry or the state of plumbing or the state of whatever we do, I mean, that's probably a key component with our family. Anybody that knows me, Mum, Dad, like Andrew, our conversations are very blunt. There's not a lot of like, we're all very polite and all that sort of thing, but we'll open up at each other and give someone a broadside if we think they deserve it. And I think that's probably what's quite special about the dynamic that we've got going on. No one's afraid to say, well, actually, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been caught out heaps of times where I've said to Ken, I was like, why would you ever do that? And then I've had egg on my face. But I mean, it goes both ways. Everybody in the family's had that, but I think the main thing is there's never a grudge or anything. It's you sort of come back to it a month later and go, oh, well, I was wrong there, sorry. Or I was right, just trying not to rub it in the other person's face.
Dad wouldn't let you forget either, though, would he?
Oh, absolutely not. He's never let me forget. He wouldn't let me forget anything. Mum wouldn't either. No one would. Yeah, it's quite good getting. Yep.
No, sorry. How old are you? Should have asked you that.
26.
Your thoughts on the state of the industry? And I ask you this, the reason I put your age there first is because I think we need to listen to people your age. And as I said, some people probably think, oh, he's born with a silver spoon in his mouth. Yeah, he doesn't have to worry, and that, which is clearly not the case, because you said there you weren't working in food distributions. Andrew became a plumber. You're both working in the family business now, but I would imagine you had to work to get there. It's not just given. So your thoughts on the industry from a younger person's point of view?
I think, I mean, we're obviously not where anybody wants to be. I mean, anything in life is about the journey anyway. It's not about the destination. But I think there's some goals that the harness racing industry have set. And in some respects, I think we're traveling in the right direction. My biggest struggle with the horse racing industry as a whole, and I suppose the racing industry in general, is there's not a lot of synergy, and this is probably the same for any business. Like, I think there are some great businesses out there that have heaps of little departments that don't synergize very well together, and I think that's true for harness, it's true in gallops, and it's true for harness and gallops. Everybody has lots of ideas. Not every idea is good, but there's a lot of people out there that if it's not their idea, it's not an idea they're interested in. And there are people out there now that are trying to work together and trying to put things together. But I really do think that, I mean, inside of harness, I don't want to identify division, but there are some divisions just in the way that we run things where if we sort of work together, it would be a lot more beneficial for everybody. There's always been that sentiment where like, oh, we need to get more young people involved. We need to do this. And I think it's important, but a lot of the time I've found those same people that are wanting to get young people involved, as soon as they get a young person's opinion, they're like, oh, well, actually, that's not what we want to do. We don't. So they want to get young people involved, but they want young people involved that want to align with the idea that they had about getting young people involved. And unfortunately, it doesn't always work that way.
I reckon that's actually pretty poignant, actually. I like the idea of that, because I know everyone keeps saying about getting young people. My argument is young people don't have disposable income. So it's all good and well to say to get young people involved, but they've got to have the money. They've got to know where they are, like you said about life being a journey. Next week they might want to fly off to Spain and stay over in Spain, meet a girl, swing hands with a girl and stay in Spain for the rest of their life. Well, they're going to walk away from the industry just because of where their world's gone to and things along those lines.
Well, I've got some syndicate members that have moved overseas, and we've got some syndicates coming to an end, some that are in the middle, all different stages of it, and they're still interested in being involved. Like, in my opinion, the best part about buying a horse is, you get to go to track, the thrill of having the horse and all that sort of stuff. But I've been sent so many videos of my mates in pubs around the world, like the middle of South America. They've somehow managed to find Wi-Fi connection, so they're now watching it with their guide walking through a bush. Yep. Or even, like a pub in London in the middle of the day. Even me and my mates, we had double park win on the same day, or the day before the Cox Plate, and we were in between races, and there was like 5 or 10 of us around a table watching double park win, and we're going absolutely ballistic at Moonee Valley, and everybody came over like, what race is going on? What race is going on? It's like, oh no, it's a harness racing race in Auckland. But we had people cheering us on for that as well, and like they're Australian gallopers that didn't even know what was going on. So once they saw it, they're like, oh, okay, see what's going on here. But distance does make it difficult. You are right, but there's a lot of people that I know that have gotten involved in the racing, and just because they moved overseas doesn't mean they want to stay out of it. Yeah. But yeah, right. Everyone's situation is different.
Yeah.
Which can make it difficult.
I also like that idea, though. We've got to listen to the young people. As a young person, what's your best left of field idea that could probably change harness racing? I'll keep talking for a sec because I could see you dead set thinking there, but just it doesn't have to be radical, and it doesn't have to, but is there I won't say a silver bullet because there's no such thing, but how do we make the game more sassy, more sexy? How do we more attractive to the young people? Or is there something that you could see that we could change, and potentially reinvigorate, for your sake, Auckland, but for my sake here, Melton? It doesn't matter where you are. Everyone points a finger at one track. It doesn't matter where it is. Bendigo, anywhere like that. How do we necessarily change things up a bit?
Well, I don't think this is necessarily going to answer that question, but one thing I see a lot of tracks doing and a lot of clubs doing is they cast too wide a net. They want to be everything to everybody, and they're like, okay, we need to get more people on track, so we're going to do a young people thing, but then we want families there, and we want kids at a picnic, and we want kids enjoying themselves, but we also want 20-year-olds there having a drink. So they sort of put out marketing for all ages, everybody come, we want you all to turn up, and you sort of end up catering to everybody averagely rather than the group you're trying to target well. I've seen the ads run all the time, and it's not specific to harness or any club. It's probably every club at one stage has put it out there. It's something you sort of learn about in business as well, where a lot of these businesses that try and they decide where they want to be, and then they try and do marketing to get themselves there, rather than sort of coming up with a strategic goal, understanding what is the market that you want to target. So is that market you want families to come? Is that market you want 20-year-olds to come? I think it's very important that you differentiate between those two things. I've heard ideas for clubs where they're like, we want to have a bar or restaurant that, and one half will have young people and the other half will have families. Well, what you'll end up with there is you'll have either, you won't have either of them in any part of it, because it's kind of, for the families, it's too loud and raucous, and for the teenagers or the young adults, there's too many kids running around. So I think there needs to be more specific thinking about what we want to do. So if it is that you want to get young people that are 20 years involved, cater to them. Don't try and cater to 100 different people. I'm not saying only cater to them, but if you're going to put on a room, don't make it a hybrid room. Or don't make it a hybrid area. Cater to that area specifically. Cater to your family specifically. I've seen it too many times where they tried to do everybody and it hasn't quite worked.
So does that work? Geez, this conversation's gone different, George. I must say, and I'm enjoying it too. Does that work? No, it's good. Every second, the first or the second Friday each month at Auckland is going to be for the 20-year-olds. The third Friday is going to be for families. Do we do it that way, or do we just try and...
Well, you could do it that way, but I think maybe a better way of doing it is look at your target market. And if your target market right now, you understand, do we have a bigger opportunity with families? Do we have a bigger opportunity with middle-aged people? Where is the biggest opportunity, or which is the market we're missing out on the most? And then cater to that market, the one that you think you're going to be able to get the most interest from. Cater to it, and once you think you've done it well, then focus on the next part. And that doesn't mean drop the ball on the part that you've just built. You keep catering to them, but if you want to start expanding it into the next bit, then you do that part as well. What I'm basically trying to say is don't try and juggle 15 things at once.
Yeah.
Get good at what you're good at. Keep doing that, and then if you want to expand, add another string to your bow and add another string to your bow until keep adding strings until you've got a rope and a really strong one. But I just think there's too many people with too many ideas trying to do too many things at once, and then you just end up doing lots of things badly.
Yep. I think that's awesome, George. I think hopefully that makes a few people sit up and have a listen too, because you are, at the end of the day, you're a 26-year-old gentleman.
I think the hard part about this conversation is you're trying to, well, for me anyway, I'm trying to say what I really think without saying what I really think, because the whole point is that I'm not trying to go out there and alienate people or target specific groups. I want it to work, and I want people to work together. I think gallops and harness actually have a really good opportunity to work together as well, because whether you like it or not, a lot of the people that like racing
Like race?
not too worried about what is racing. Like they want to see a horse race, but they're not too worried. It more sits with the purists. They're like, I'm gallops, I've always been a galloper. I'm harness, I've always been a galloper. That's why I've always been a harness guy. There's an opportunity for them to work together at some point, but for that core group in the middle that you're trying to capture anyway, they're not too phased between what is racing and what isn't racing.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I think that's very good. I was really different. And I was sort of thinking a little bit over here, you wouldn't follow it as much, but the AFL, they've done something like that. They've targeted groups, then they try to get the families. And I think it definitely works because the AFL is the biggest sport we have. I think they have 1 month a year off where they just put the queue in the rack, do nothing. And then for the other 11 months, it is wall to wall and going from there. But very targeted. Let the clubs do their things, but the actual AFL themselves do the overarching thing and run it that way. So, right, back to the sales, mate. We've got 35 yearlings going through. And please, I really appreciate that. And there was no rehearsal in that conversation in any way, that's for sure. As I said, 35 yearlings going through this year. We've had one pull out, unfortunately. That was the Always Be Mickey colt with 20 fillies, which is a really great number. I think 14 colts, 14 trotters and 21 pacers. There's been a real push with the pacers, with the trotters at Breckon Farms. Do you like the trotters, George?
I love the trotters. I think it was funny, talking with my mate Nick Wright, who's also been fairly involved with actually every single syndicate I've done, and friend of Glynis and Phil's as well. I know when we first sort of started, when it was a pipe dream, it was like, well, we definitely won't do a trotter because it's too hard to sell the old trotters. Like, I don't want to say to somebody who's new to racing, okay, our horse is racing tonight. It might not actually run, or halfway through it might gallop and not feel like it anymore, and it's all over. But hard to sell that as opposed to a pacer. But as we syndicated the horses and got more and more into it, and I think I've swung back and forth, but I absolutely love the trotters now. Like I really enjoy trotting. I even like, grass tracks growing up, because I've always grown up around Addington, Alexandra Park, Cambridge. Grass tracks aren't really something I see very often. I used to go, oh, it's too many horses racing. I can't pick them. What's going on? It's too hard to follow. Now, as I've grown up and, you watch more and more of it, probably same thing with the trotters. Like, it's just another element that adds another difficulty and another point of interest to the way that the horses run. So, no, I do love the trotters now. But, yeah, if you had asked me that question 8 years ago, it might have been a bit different. The only caveat to that is I grew up, when I sort of developed my opinion on horses, was when I Can Do's It was racing. So very difficult for me to say, no, I don't like trotters when you've got something winning 17 in a row every Friday. It's pretty hard to look past it.
Well, I think, though, that's one thing I reckon we sell as participants of an industry. The horse, I fell in love with a horse called True Raymond. Same thing, trotter. I do think we're allowed to say what horse we fell in love with and why we actually all of a sudden like a certain gait. And I think a lot of people who don't like trotters have never fallen in love with one because they've never had that first-hand experience. So definitely, I think that part's fine. So you haven't syndicated a yearling yet, trotter yet? Sorry.
No, I haven't syndicated a trotter yet. I'd like to do it, but I'd probably like to do it when there's a little bit more certainty just in the New Zealand economy. It's a cheaper, or it can be a cheaper investment, but I would want, it would, to syndicate a trotter, it would probably be almost like an intermediate syndicate. I think a lot of the syndicates that I'm doing now, you'd almost call junior syndicates because it's entry level for people that don't understand horse racing. I'd like to have maybe 2 or more pacing syndicates before I got a trotting one going, just because it's easy to explain a pacer. It's not that easy to explain a trotter.
Yep.
And I've got friends that have come across from galloping where they're like, oh, I don't like it because I don't like that the horse can break. So then I'm like, well, that's fine. We'll get you in a pacer.
Yep.
Like, can't that break? I'm like, well, yeah, it can, but it's not what you think. It's not like a trotter.
No.
So yeah, I think it's probably the same journey I'm on, or the journey I had, where I know a lot more about horse racing now, so the trotting really interests me, but I'd have to give someone time before I said, come on, get in the trotter. It'll be fun.
A couple of the ones you wanted to highlight out of the sale. There was a couple that you were you liked. One, I think you bought a relation to last year. Is that correct?
Yep. So that would be Gladimir. Gladimir this year has gone to King of Swing, I think. Let me make sure.
This is the only King of Swing on the North Island, and you are right. I reckon.
Okay, yeah. just wanted to make sure I didn't make you fool himself there. Yeah, I mean, well, you saw the first King of Swing 2-year-old run last night, as this is being recorded. Bob Butts won, I think it's Fanfare. I mean, that paid $1.60. It did break, but it was, other than that, it went good. I think that's going to be a very exciting horse. I mean, obviously, King of Swing being off the farm, is quite cool for us. Anything off the farm like that, we love to see. So, the Gladimir that I've got is with Maddie White, and it's been really, really impressive. I think we're going to send it to the workouts this week, and then we'll let her tell us if it's gonna run in the races coming up, or if we're going to turn her out again. But Gladimir, before the one I bought, was a fantastic mare. So I'm excited to see how that King of Swing goes. I also really like the ombre tail. Actually, it has the same tail as $1 Billion Boy had, who was the sales topper 4 years ago. But $1 Billion Boy's name got changed to Bollinger.
Oh, yeah.
Have a look at its tail. It's the same one.
What did you call it?
$1 Billion Boy?
No, the tail.
Ombre.
Ombre.
Yeah. My girlfriend taught me that. It's when the dark hair into light hair. If the hairstylist does it bad, it's mince and cheese.
Mate, do I look like I have much idea?
Yeah. It was your hairdresser. Well, I mean, I've got my golf hair, so mine's crazy. It's the reason for the hat.
This horse here, when I was over there for the parade, there was a lot of commentary about him without looking at his pedigree page, just purely on type. He's a lovely type of horse, isn't he? Stands terrific, and that's what they were saying. Last year there was quite a few King of Swings. This year there's only the one on the north, two on the south, so limited opportunities for people in New Zealand to be able to purchase those horses. But it's interesting, you're saying to them about our bobbies, they've been very well received over here. The talk's pretty high on them. They've got to deliver, but the talk is very high on them at the minute. So that's pretty exciting, and that's very exciting for Breckon Farms, being the fact that Swing was born and bred at Breckon Farms.
Well, I think as well, because this isn't always true, but with first up stallions, they don't necessarily always go to the best mares. But I think with that one there, I know it's not first up, but pretty close to first up. With that horse there, you've probably got a very, very good opportunity to get into a really good mare with an unproven stallion, but a stallion that so far looks to be pretty good. So I think if you were buying and you wanted to maybe, shouldn't say this because it's our farm, but maybe find potentially a bargain if there is going to be one there. I don't know how many people want it. Well, you need 2 people that want it, and it's not a bargain anymore. But I think that horse could be a really good opportunity for somebody to get into quite a good horse with an unproven stallion. And then it's next gen. Oh, is it next gen eligible? It is.
Yep, I think so.
I think so.
It's only second season. Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Just say it down the bottom. Yep, next gen does too. Like saying next gen.
It's a really good opportunity there. I mean, you race it 3 times and they'll pay you anyway, so that's good.
Yeah, so it is very, very important. But as I said, the feedback was, you said there you only need 2 people. I reckon I feedback from half a dozen people at the parade that they really like that horse. So hopefully they all turn up, and we've got 6 people to gunfight instead of 2, and we have one person.
And then it won't be told off for calling it a bargain. So
you won't get told off. Don't worry about that. Was there any others that you wanted to highlight?
There's probably 3. I mean, the Enjoy Me, really, really, really exciting mare.
This is the Sweet Lou.
Yeah. I really like Sweet Lou. I think when Sweet Lou first came in, I wasn't sure, but I do really like Sweet Lou's now, and Enjoy Me is a fantastic mare. I mean, you don't have to be a genius to figure out that horse there is a Sweet Lou. Have a look at its face. It's quite fun because I'm not fantastic at identifying horses, but with Sweet Lou, it's pretty easy to tell. But I think that'll be a very, very exciting horse. I really like it. Awesome mare, awesome stallion. So hopefully that goes good.
Lovely filly too, and she's got that ombre tail too. You bid on the ombre tails, mate. I've noticed. So yeah. Is the girlfriend a hairdresser, or she just goes to one a lot?
She goes to one. Yeah, she's got a little bit more hair than me. So yeah.
Right.
It was actually her friend that told me that, because she asked. It was her and her friend, because her friend asked for ombre hair, and she just got like brown at the top, yellow at the bottom. So mince and cheese, called her a pie. It was great. And then the other two would be trotters.
Look out.
both be out of the Regal family, so the Regal Volo and the Regal Love. It's more
What,
so just highlighting that bloodline. Like, it's been such a fantastic bloodline for Breckon Farms. All of those horses sort of just compete and turn up over and over and over again.
so this is like 13 on there, and this will be the last of the Regal Volo foals to be offered up ever, I think. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So Regal Volo is still here, but she's she's being turned out. She's going into retirement. So she'll be like I can do's it, just running around the farm for a laugh. She's such an awesome mare. She produced some great progeny, but also she's just so well mannered. No real temperament to her. Nigel might disagree, but I'm pretty sure I've got that right. She's she's just she's a lovely horse, and I wish her all the best for retirement, because she's just, every time I come down, she's one of the horses I make sure I see before I leave.
That's that family's phenomenal. I think there's like 4 or 5 Redwood winners. I think there's another 4 or 5 that competed in the Redwood. Like, they're a precocious young family. King of the North was a precocious young horse, got up and going early. He's got the Walna cross. So I think you're spot on. And that fits this market nowadays, where people want these horses to be able to get up and go early.
Yeah, and like I've always called that bloodline the cash register bloodline, but it's not necessarily because, oh yeah, we keep selling them and you make money from them. It's because every horse goes out in its own right and makes money.
Yep.
It's not. I mean, obviously, yes, it's good because we can get good sale prices out of her. But generally speaking, if you're buying something that's Regal something, you're going to go very, very well. So,
yep.
Yeah, yeah.
What was the other one that you liked?
Regal. Well, it's just a Regal Love, but it was more so because it's from the same elk. I just wanted to highlight that family. I mean, everybody knows about it, but sometimes when it's the highly rated one, people don't talk about it because everybody already knows about it.
No, absolutely. This is him here. This is like 10. This is like 10, which will be the third if yours to go through. So 10 and 13 are both out of that same family, and different style to the Regal Volo. This horse a lot taller, a lot leggier, I suppose, but both by King of the North and both out of that same cross. So, and the fact that Fergus is walking, this one must mean he really likes it, because that's about all Fergie does now. He doesn't walk the ones that he doesn't like.
No, yeah, he's a Fergus has his opinions, so I always like asking. Actually, that's the other thing, kind of unrelated to. It's not unrelated to the lot. Is just, with everybody we've got on the farm, just do such an amazing job. Like, we're so lucky to have great managers, great farmhands, great staff, even the girls that come down and prepare them, because the horses look fantastic. The property always looks fantastic, and I mean, it's not easy to maintain. I mean, as I say that, I'm sitting just right in front of the stable there, but like, it's not easy to maintain. It's post and rail everywhere, and horses chew it, kick it up, but it always looks immaculate. All the horses always look immaculate. The temperament of our horses is always fantastic. So it's a huge shout out to them, because as good of a job Dad did setting it up, I can't imagine him feeding out. In fact, I'd pay to see him feed out. And not just one horse, feed out the whole farm.
Give me a yell when that's happening. I'm bringing the camera.
Yes,
we'll video it. I bring Fergus into it because I did an interview, and you say about how much they enjoy them. He openly said how he cries when 1 or 2 of the yearlings leave every year, like he falls in love with them. And he has openly declared that when this colt sells this year, this is the Luby Lou full brother to Meant to Be, that there'll be tears. He absolutely loves this horse. And I think back to what you were saying there before, that's the staff that you guys have there. They're invested in them emotionally, I suppose, as much as they are to say this horse will be a sale topper. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. To say that this horse will be a sale topper, it's not that at all. It's Fergus has already said, no matter what he sells for, when this colt leaves, he'll cry, because he just loves the horse. He's not saying he's a $300,000 horse or a $10,000 horse. He just absolutely loves a horse, and I think it's awesome. And then the byproduct of that, George, I don't know if you saw Sarah's interview afterwards, but she basically called him a bit of a girl for crying. So you've got some cool stuff, because they take the mickey as well. So.
I mean, the staff probably reflect the family pretty well as well, because it's the same thing. Like, no one's afraid to give it to the other person, but it's all in good fun as well. Like, not ripping each other out, but we will hold you to account.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they have a lot of fun. George, thank you. We want to get young people involved in the game. I think the only way we can is by promoting young people, like what we did with Breckon. I think Breckons have been terrific this year with Fergus, Sarah. I forgot the other young girl's name that I interviewed a bit earlier on too as well. It's very good at the show jumping foal down girl. You got Philly. Nigel's not even that old. So, it is, we keep saying we want to get young people in the sport, but I think we forget and stop looking around. Have a look around. We've got so many young people already involved in the game.
Yeah, and really good people as well. Like, it's always interesting. And like, even for me, like, I spend a lot of time at the track around the horse racing, but sometimes you see the new cadets coming through and the achievements that they've already had, and you miss it almost. Like, some of them that were nominated, I haven't seen before, or I don't know of. And you read their achievements, and it's like, wow, they've done more in the horse racing industry in the past year than I've done in the entire time. So, like, there are people already making massive commitments to it. I mean, you look at Jamie, she from JB Bloodstock, like, she's doing an amazing job. She's taken a huge risk there, and she's prepared some really, really awesome horses. And it's quite different with what she's doing because she's got some American bred horses there as well. And, some people, I think that'll be a really cool opportunity for some people. But going back to one of your questions from pretty much the start where you said real left field, there was one idea I had a while ago, which is completely bonkers, and I understand why it will or won't work, but I'd love to see a race series in New Zealand that's like State of Origin. So in the sense that you have, say you could go off where the horse is bred or where the horse is trained, but essentially you have, if it's South Island, if it's North Island, and then you have 2 heats, 3 heats, whatever it is, and then you've got your finals, and then the top 5 from those finals race against each other, or top 4, or however you want to do it, in a final one where you've got 4 North Island trained horses and 4 South Island trained horses going against each other. Like, I know it is a little bit bonkers and you might have a bias towards one of them, but it would be, because I've always thought one thing we haven't done well in harness is building up the story behind the horse. So when we had Bolt for Brilliance and who did Bolt for Brilliance race against week in, week out? One of John Dunn's and Robert Dunn. What was it called? Sunday Sun, there we go. They used to race against each other, but I've spoken to mates where, they might be from Pukekohe or something like that, and there could be a horse that was, that horse was trained down the road from you, or it was born where it is. Because it's the same thing with, you see it with boxers, you see it with UFC fighters, with regular sports stars. If you give somebody a reason to be like, oh, that was born near where my granddad grew up, or that horse is like the Auckland horse, even if it was born, real outskirts of Auckland, people will find a way to get behind it. New Zealanders and Australians love to get behind rivalries or find a connection with a fighter that then that person or a horse that becomes their horse, and that one's from where I live. And then I think if you expand on it, that's when you end up with like a State of Origin racing series, which I just think would be quite fun to watch, to be honest.
I actually 100% agree. The Ultimate Driver series that's coming up at the Creek very shortly, they're trying to do that. I think what you're trying to achieve, I might be wrong, is that tribal feel.
Yeah.
Where people can invest in colours. If that, you don't have to go and buy the driving colours, but for you guys, you're technically not black. It's that almost black, that brown and white, and wear those colours whenever a Breckon horse is going around and be able to promote it that way. I know Adam Hamilton and them are big on drivers' colours, but I don't think that gives its tribal feel, because if Zach drives meant to be this week and then Dexter gets on meant to be next week, it's the same horse that's winning the race. You need to try and give that. So I totally agree with your idea, and trying to get a bit of ownership, if you like.
I think if you look at Super Rugby versus Rugby League, like Super Rugby is essentially the New Zealand teams alone, exclude the Australian ones and Moana Pacifica, especially Moana Pacifica, because they're a good example of it. But for the New Zealand teams, they're essentially 5 teams that just wear different colors. Like, the only team that really has any sort of soul to it, if you're watching, would be the Chiefs with the cowbells. Now, the Crusaders do, but a lot of the Crusaders' soul isn't built on the Crusaders themselves. They just won a lot of games, and Cantabrians are very pro-Cantabrian. But in terms of like heart and soul, you've really only got Waikato. And the Warriors, because those teams are privately owned, people get behind the warriors because like they want to feel like they are a warrior, and it's almost like having a bet without having a bet, because you have a connection to it, and that becomes your linked team. That's who you want to root for. It's like when Mark Cuban bought the Dallas Mavericks, he sat everybody down and asked them, "What are we?" And everybody said, "Oh, well, we're a basketball team." He said, "No, we're an entertainment business that has the benefit of a basketball game going on. So if you don't make the experience of being at the races something to connect to and enjoy, exclusive of what's going on the track, it'll never be successful. You need to be able to make that 5 hours you're on track really, really fun for somebody without seeing a horse. Because a lot of my mates that are girls that go to Ellerslie, they go, "Oh, I had a great time. I didn't even see a horse once." And like, I'm not saying that that's what necessarily what we want, but if you're going to attract people, that is the sort of atmosphere you need to build.
George,
and, I mean, when Mark Cuban bought the Mavs, they were the worst basketball team in the league. I think they had the worst win-loss record ever. And it pertains to horse racing, sport, anything it can pertain to, actually.
No, totally agree. The Dallas Cowboys are another one. They were the people's team. They came out, they won 3 out of 4, I think, Super Bowls. You know, they were the people's team. They still say they're the people's team. They haven't won a Super Bowl. They haven't made the finals for years. Like
they haven't been to the NFC Championship in 30 years.
Yeah.
And they're the only team that hasn't.
Yeah. And yet they're still the people's team because they've been marketed that way. They sell more merchandise because it's been marketed the right way. They target, back to what you said there before, they target an audience. They know what they want. They've got their audience. They've just got to get the blokes on the field to be able to deliver. Like it's there's some, George, I love talking to you, and hopefully we get more people talking to you and like-minded people like yourself to think outside the square, because I think we've got a great industry. I love it, but it's easy for me because I love it. Like, so we've got to be able to, change the way a lot of people think. And as you say, don't ask to get young people in, but don't like their ideas. I think that's the other key component I've gleaned from you today, because I'm an older person now. I think, no, that won't work. Well, you've got to stop. If you want these young people in the game, stop, listen to them, and let them have their say and let it try. Like, give it a try. Don't sack it straight away either. I think that's pretty important.
And as you said, like, there are actually a lot of great young people in the industry. Someone just has to stand up and listen to them.
Yep.
Because they're there. You've got the pool to draw from, but you've just got to, maybe it's not even a matter of listening. Maybe someone has to ask them.
Yes.
And often you'll find that's what it is. No one's asked them.
Give them the opportunity and let them go. A little bit like this, because this was purely just going to be about promoting yearlings, mate. This has been so much more.
Sorry about that. Yeah. The yearlings are good too. Buy the horses.
That's how Campbell's comments works. Well, we want people in the game. We want people to come to the sales. And it was quite interesting when you were talking about the colours. Alabar are that deep, dark black, like the jet black. Woodlands are green. You guys are the brown and white, but predominantly with that blue. When you go to yearling sales, and I know Alabar have taken that step back this year, but there was almost that tribal feel, if you like. The staff walking around, the black and gold, black and white, they're all green. That was it. I remember Paul Kenny, if he's watching this, he'll tell me off right now, but they had a marketing idea to put Sweet Lewin down by the seaside. One was in yellow and one was in red caps. And I was like, who came up with this stupid idea? Because Woodlands are just green. Like it, they were trying to identify their stallions differently and try something a bit differently, but Woodlands effectively are green, and we need some things to stay the same and some to grow. So it's I think it's really important, and marketing and getting it out there.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Like your hat too, mate. George, thanks, mate. I will catch up. I will catch up with you at the sales. We will be. I'll be there Sunday afternoon. And we will be there all day on the Mondays selling these horses, and we want to make sure we get the message out there, but we've got to get the message out there beforehand. So go to breckonfarms.co.nz or NZB Standardbred. I'll just quickly do this part very quickly. Just click on, when you go nzbstandardbreds.co.nz, click on the Auckland sale. It'll bring up the whole lot. Now, you can go through and scroll through all of those individually, or if you just type in Breckon, and I encourage people to type the whole word in, because sometimes if you typed in party, you'll get a heap of party horses. So just, if you type in what you're actually after, is the best way. It only takes a couple of seconds. And there's a full draft of the 35 horses in the Breckon Farms, and you'll be able to go through and individually look at each of those horses, or videos, photos, and updates. And I think looking at that, just about every horse has got an update, George, which is pretty impressive, actually. They have too. Every horse has got an update since it's gone to print, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, they've all done. That's what I was saying. With that Mears bloodline, they're all active bloodlines, and they're all you can pretty much, in fact, as you've seen there, you can find one that's running around right now if you really want to get a good understanding of how they go.
Every horse, I just looked at it just then, every horse has got a demo, or I forget the word they use. They use some fancy word. Basically, it's an update. So, yeah. Mate, thank you so much. Really appreciate the time. I know you got a bit on today as well. And I said we'd only talk for 5-10 minutes. And officially, we have gone for 45, and I don't care. Really appreciate your time, mate. I think it's great. And hopefully we get a couple of people sit back and have a good listen to this as well, because some of that messaging you've got out there is pretty important for our industry. Thanks, mate.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate having me on. Really appreciate what you're doing.